policy is a document of the government and a particular sector of the government that promises the development and target of the government. So this is called as public policy. Now let us see how public policies are made. What is the political process that is involved in public policy making? How policies are implemented? If there are any disputes in the policies, who will resolve those disputes? So these are the issues that are to be discussed. Public policy making is the exercise of three departments: the legislature, the executive, and judiciary. Public policies are generally made by the legislature. People elect the parliament members, the assembly members, and these assembly members and parliament members formulate the public policies. The policy formulation is done by the legislature, and the policy implementation is done by the executive. There are two types of executive in any country. One is a political executive, one is an administrative executive. A political executive are the ministers, governors, chief minister, prime minister, and cabinet. They are called as the political executive. They are elected for a fixed tenure. They stay in the office for 5 years or 4 years, according to the constitution. And once they are elected to the government, they implement all the policies. They implement the policies which are already approved by the legislative assembly or parliament. The legislature has to formulate the laws, formulate the public policies, and executive implements these legislations. So in every government, there are three organs: the legislature, executive, and judiciary. So policy making is involved with all the three branches of government. The legislature formulate the policies, the executive implement the policies, and judiciary interpret the policies. If there is a dispute in the interpretation of rules and regulations, the judiciary interferes and it gives its judgments. So this is how the three branches of government, legislature, executive, judiciary, are the three branches that are responsible for the implementation of the public policies. If there is any dispute, either in the policy making or in the policy implementation, that dispute is to be resolved by judiciary, the independent judiciary. So this is the rule. That's how the policies are formulated, policies are implemented in any government. This is all about the policy making. Then what is the meaning of public policy? The meaning of public policy is, in every government, there are certain departments which strives to develop the people. For developing the people in a particular desired direction, development always has a desired direction, a positive direction. Developing people in a positive direction requires certain goals and objectives and targets. So the government departments develop the people in a particular direction. That is called as the positive direction. So developing people with certain objectives in a positive direction is called as the public policy. And public policies vary from one country to another country. Many countries are having the welfare policies. Some countries are having the security policies. Some countries are having the trade and economic policies like import and export policies, investment policies, likewise. So, the focus of public policies always is on the welfare of the people. It is the general welfare of the people that should be the center of all the public policies. The main objective of public policies is to provide welfare to the people. So, this is how public policies are the policy instruments that are in the hands of the government to bring a positive change in the lives of the people. Now, let us see what is the definition to the word public policy. The word public policy is defined by so many people in so many ways. There are certain standard definitions by certain philosophers like Thomas R. Dye, Thomas Dye. He considers public policy a public document that envisages the development goals and targets for a definite territory of people in a fixed time. That is called as public policy. Here in this definition, we see a public policy belongs to a particular time. A public policy belongs to objectives. A public policy also have certain goals. A public policy also have certain desired results. A public policy also have positive outcomes. So these are all the policy inputs of any public policy. So public policy is a positive document that provides and that envisages various objectives and aims for the development of people in a desired direction, in a desirable direction or a desired direction. So that's called as a public policy. Now let us see what is the nature of public policy. The nature of public policy is always positive. In fact, the government has two important functions, the welfare function and security function. To provide security to the people, sometimes the government may act with firmness, it may have to resort to some charge, it may have to resort to some violence. That is called a negative intervention. When the government uses its force against the people, that's called as the negative intervention. When the government uses its force in a positive direction, that is called public policy. So public policy is the policy with the positive intervention of state. The positive intervention of state is required in public policies. So, in the nature of public policy, we can see the positive change. People perceive a positive change for their own development. That's called as public policy. So, public policy envisages the positive intervention of the state. The state is intended to interfere in a positive manner, the positive intervention of state. So that is called as public policy. Now let us see what is the scope of public policy. The scope of public policy is very wide. In the beginning, we have already discussed that policy is related to different departments. Each department has its own policy. For example, we have education policy, industrial policy, agriculture policy, import export policy. Likewise, we have so many public policies. The first point here is each policy has a definite set of department. Suppose the government wants to develop agriculture, it formulates the agriculture policy. The government wants to develop tourism, so that's called tourism policy. So, in the scope of political science, public policy, the first important aspect is public policies aim at developing the people in a particular direction, belong to a particular public sector service. That is one thing. Second thing is public policies are for the general welfare of the people. They are not only for a sectorial welfare. It's not sectorial policy. The very name itself is called general policy, public policy. That means public policy always have the whole population in its mind. The target of population, the target of public policy is to develop the whole mankind in a particular area. And thirdly, the public policy is aimed to bring change in the lives of the people. In a span of 5 years or 10 years, public policy tries to bring some change. Bringing change, that positive change, is the aim of public policy. Without bringing positive change, it cannot be called as public policy at all. So only those policies which are either aimed to bring positive change or which are in reality bringing positive change in the lives of the people, that is called as public policy. And fourthly, public policies are formulated in the legislative bodies. Public policies are not formulated on the streets or on various places of society. There are certain specific representatives that formulate the policies. The expertise of the lecturers, legislatures, educated people is to be taken in formulating the public policies. So public policy making is a very meticulous exercise in which many social scientists, many surveyors, many experts, they participate in it. Without the participation of experts, a policy cannot become a public policy. Take, for example, in India, we have a new education policy, new industrial policy, new import-export policy, new agriculture policy, new drug policy, drugs and pharmaceutical policies, new external affairs policy. So all these policies are meant to bring positive change in the lives of the people. So that's why they're called as positive public policies. So public policy, as a matter of a policy instrument, it always desires to bring positive change, some degree of positive change. Even that degree of positive change, maybe it is social development or economic development of the people of a particular area in a given period of time. That is called as public policy. So public policy is a policy document with definite aims and objectives. Without aims and objectives, public policies cannot survive. Now let us see how public policy continue itself as a separate discipline, academic discipline. As we all know, human knowledge can be classified into four types: natural sciences, physical sciences, social sciences, and arts. All the physical sciences deal with physical elements of the whole world, like physics, chemistry, geology, botany, astronomy. All these things are studied in physical sciences. And secondly, social, natural sciences. In natural sciences, subjects like botany, zoology, biology, medicine, pharma, these are studied. They belong to the living organisms of the people. And thirdly, social sciences. Social sciences means the sciences, the study about the society, the study about the role of citizen in the society. So they are called as the social sciences. So in addition to political science, public administration, economics, management, psychology, sociology, anthropology, and other subjects of social sciences, the policy science is also emerging as a separate subject. A policy science is a separate subject by itself. So, friends, this is how the public policy is emerged as a separate discipline. And we also have certain theories in public policy. There are, in fact, four important theories in public policy. The first one is decision making theory. The second one is elite theory and group theory. And third one is rational comprehensive theory. And fourth one is incremental theory. These are the four theories that brings us the scope of public policy. Take, for example, in decision making theory, how the government takes a decision in times of crisis without much loss to the local population and with minimum gain to the people. The public policies are made. That's called as the decision making theory. In the decision making theory, all the decisions are to be taken. And these decisions are to be in consonance with the urge for development among the people. And second one is the elite theory and group theory. What is elite theory? Elite theory is a theory given by the intellectuals, intellectual elite. There are three types of intellectuals according to Antonio Gramsci of 20th century. He says there are traditional intellectuals, professional intellectuals, and organic intellectuals. So, in the elite theory or a group theory, we can say all the educated people are called as elite. The educated elite are important category in any society. That's called as elite theory. And secondly, we have group theory. In a group theory, every individual considers himself as part of the group. As a member of the group, as an active member of the group, he contributes for the development of the group. He devises the way to distribute the resources among the group. That's also his group activity. And the groups are so dynamic that even if one person among their group is not satisfied with the government policy, the whole group is resenting and making a protest against the government. So this is how group theory has become very, very relevant and very interesting theory in the modern times. And fourth one is the models of public policy. The models of public policy, we have a rational comprehensive model, international model. There are two models of public policy. The first one is a rational comprehensive model. What is a rational comprehensive model? The public policy should be rational. It should not go without logic. It should convince the people. The targets of public policy, the instruments of public policy, the outcomes of public policy should always stand vindicated in the minds of the people. That is called as the positive intervention of state. So, in a elite theory or a group theory, we find these type of people accepting the decisions. And likewise, we have rational comprehensive theory. We may take so many decisions in course of time, but all the decisions need not be rational and reasonable. They may stand the reason for some time, and sometimes they may not stand for reason. So, in all such cases, the rational comprehensive model always gives us what is very reasonable to the people in a given point of time. And likewise, we have incremental model. In an incremental model, the government develops the people in a phasal manner. The whole 100% development may not be possible in a given period of time. That's why, considering the limitations of the people and their economies, the government provides various links to the people and asks them to develop themselves. So, the incremental model is the phasal manner. In a phasal manner, all the development is to be accepted. Not all the development occur at one point of time in an incremental manner. It develops in percentages in different phases. 100% development may not be available in a one particular day or two. That's why people go for 50% development once, 75% development once, and 100% development next. Likewise, the development is classified and categorized into achievable targets, and the society develops. So the development of society with certain achievable targets is called as incremental model. Incremental model is also an important one. So friends, this is all about the theories, the four theories. The first one is the decision-making theory. The second one is the elite theory. The third one is the group theory. And fourth one is rational comprehensive theory and incremental model. So these are the different models of public policy. And now let us see what are the determinants of public policy. In every public policy, there are different stages of challenges, right from the formation of policy, implementation of policy, disputes on the policy. Likewise, at every stage, we witness so many difficulties and inconveniences to the people. So, in all such cases, you compartmentalize the knowledge into different things. And once it is reported to the higher ups, then only you take a decision. So public policy also have certain determinants: the legislature, the executive, and judiciary. The legislature formulates the public policies. The executive implement the public policies, and the judiciary gives interpretation of rules and regulations and certain key items of the public policy and some of the laws, basic laws. And it provides an opportunity to the people to interact with the legislature, executive, and judiciary for gaining their rights. The role of legislature is very important in policy making. In fact, the role among the three branches of government, the legislature, executive, and judiciary, it is only the legislature that is closer to the government, closer to the people. So the legislature knows the inconvenience of the people. The legislature also grants the money required for the implementation of the legislature public policy. So the legislature, the role of legislature cannot be overemphasized, but it has a rational role. Without legislature, the policy making process becomes redundant. It becomes meaningful only when the policy is formulated by the legislature. Once the government decides to have a policy, the governments introduce a bill in the parliament. The parliament thoroughly discusses the bill, and parliament passes the bill with the requirement number of majority. And thirdly, once the bill is accepted by the legislature and taken by the government as a shiver, that's called as if the legislature passes the bill, the legislature accepts the bill. The legislature also provides grants to the public policies. It provides the necessary sources of income for the implementation of public policies. And the second important political organ of public policies is executive. Within the executive, there are two types. One is a political executive, the other one is an administrative executive. The political executive is that executive that provides the leadership in implementation of the public policies. It is the ministers, the chief minister, the prime minister, cabinet, or the state cabinet or international cabinet. So that takes the decisions on various rules and regulations that are to be followed in the implementation of public policies. And likewise, the third important wing in policy making is judiciary. Judiciary protects the rights of the people, protects the legal claims of the people. Because without the consent of the people, without protection of their legal rights and constitutional rights, the public policy making becomes halfway. It cannot be comprehensively implemented. That's why it is the duty of the public policy makers to execute the bill in total. For this, the political executive lays the roadmap and the administrative executive The administrative executive again means the IAS officers, the IPS officers, and other officials, Group 1 officers, Group 2 officers, Group 3 officers, and Group 4 officers. So all these officials, they are called as executive. So the executive has two important dimensions: the political executive and the administrative executive. The administrative executive, it implements the policies and it also detects any lacunae or any incompleteness or any inconvenience that the people are facing or any contradiction in the implementation process. Then these inconveniences, incompleteness, incoherence, and contradictions are to be referred to the judiciary, ultimately to the judiciary that takes the decision. And judiciary is the organization that settles the disputes. Judiciary interprets the meanings of the policies and laws, key terms. Sometimes the key terms lose their importance in a particular period of time, and they may require some new meaning for their implementation. So, for all these things, the judiciary takes the new role of interpretation of laws, interpretation of policy terms, and it gives legal protection to the people. It provides the legal rights to the people, the constitutional rights to the people. So, this is how these three important organizations, legislature, executive, and judiciary, are the three important organs that provide for the implementation of public policies. And besides these three organs, the political parties and pressure groups are also two more important aspects that also provide valuable service for the formulation of policy, implementation of policy, and so on. When the public policies are to be made, it is the political parties that aggregate the demands of the people, different sections of people, and bring forth interest aggregation before the government for policy making. Suppose in a policy making, there are two or three sections of the government, two or three sections of the population. The interests of one section of people may be against the interests of the other sections of people. In such cases, the political parties play a key role in coordinating the interests without losing much. So this is called as interest aggregation. Interest aggregation is done by political parties. And likewise, we have pressure groups. Pressure groups are also the formal political institutions that also provide much service to the public policy making. The pressure groups are the groups that fight for various social groups, economic groups, professional groups in the society. Take, for example, the history, example, the students, employees, freedom fighters, old people, women. Likewise, there are so many sections of people. All these sections of people have their own demands. But there should not be any contradiction of one demand of one section of people against the demands of other sections of people. So political parties takes all the care to avoid such contradictions and help formulating the public policies. So that's why political parties and pressure groups they form an important role in the public policy making. And there are also a role for electronic media, mass media in public policy making. Mass media we see in three different forms in modern times: the print media, the electronic media, and the social media. What we call the print media is the newspapers, journals, periodicals. They are called as the print media. The electronic media means the radio, the TV, and other electronic mediums. And social media means the media run by the government, run by the people, and the media that is expressed through YouTube, internet, WhatsApp, Facebook, and various other modes of social media. So, this is how public policy making is actively involving the legislatures, the executive, the judiciary, the political parties, the pressure groups, and also the media. So, mass media is also playing an important role in the process. So, friends, these are some of the important aspects of policy making. Now, let us see what are the important policies as such in India in the post independence period. India has been struggling itself for over 300 years under the British rule, and it has got a new lease of life with independence on 14th August 1947. And on 26th January 1950, the Indian people have written a constitution for themselves and they have constituted India as a republic. So from here onwards, India has become sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. And it is sovereign because all the laws are passed by the people by themselves. It is socialist because the constitution promises the elimination of inequalities among the population. It provides social and economic equality among the people. And likewise, public policy making is in the post-independence period, the public policy making is taken up by the government with a new vision called the development administration. Welfareism has become the hallmark of post-war administration, and many sections of the Indian population who were oppressed and suppressed due to historical injustice, they found a new lease of life in the post-independence period under the guidance of the new constitution, thanks to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who have formulated the constitution in a meticulous manner. So the Constitution of India has started operating from 26 January 1950, and as a result, many public policies are made. To mention a few, the agricultural policy, the industrial policy, reservation policy, education policy, environmental policy. So these are the various policies that are given. The first one is agricultural policy. India is a country with agricultural background. India has millions of farmers, small farmers, marginal farmers, big farmers, and likewise, India is also a country with agricultural laborers, landless laborers. So, for the benefit of all these people, we need to have a new agriculture policy. That agriculture policy underwent so many changes, particularly during Srimati Indira Gandhi's period. The new public policy on agriculture has come that facilitated for the Green Revolution in India. In the Green Revolution, the food grains production of India touched almost 300 million tons. And likewise, the Indian agriculture policy provided jobs and employment opportunities for millions of people in the Indian continent. The second one is the industrial policy. India is a country with the minimum industries at the time of independence. But once the independence is achieved, India started achieving the industrial revolution in the country. And by 1970s and 80s, India has become a fully industrialized country, competing with all the European powers and North and South Asian powers, North American powers, and likewise. So, industrial policy facilitated the policy dynamics in India and the establishment of steel and iron and steel industries, fertilizer industries, pharmaceutical industries. Indian industry has expanded itself into many ways. And the third one is reservation policy, the policy of reservations. Reservation policy is a policy that provides affirmative action by the Constitution to bring social justice to the people who are socially and economically deprived for centuries together. So that affirmative action is also known as protective discrimination. The protective discrimination is done. So that protective discrimination is also known as the affirmative action. So India has achieved so much of welfare. We have provided reservation facilities for scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, other backward castes, minorities, women in their social, economic, and political backgrounds. And all the women are empowered in economic terms, political terms, and social terms. So this economic empowerment also provided an opportunity to define our goals in policy making. In fact, the government tries to achieve education and public health for the downtrodden classes because these two public policies, the education policy and health policy, that are very much required for millions of people who are excluded from the education system and realm of public health. But fortunately, the post-independence period witnessed a positive change in matters of education and public policy. This is called as the reservation policy. And after that, we have education policy, new education policy. This policy is formulated by the central government with the title National Education Policy. The document is to be approved by the state governments, and state governments, in fact, chart out their programs and policies in accordance with the national education policy. And education policy is an important policy, and the government wants to educate all the people so that the people are to be developed with the many skills, skill development, to strive for skill development and make India a hub of all the skills. So India has become a hub of teachers, a hub of lawyers, a hub of chartered accountants, a hub of engineers, a hub of teachers and professors. The education policy defined the goals of the system. And after that, we have environmental policy. In the environmental policy, the government clearly indicated what are its environmental goals. In the light of world environmental concerns, in fact, 20th century is a century of so many environmental problems. We have depletion of ozone layer, and we have increase in greenhouse gases, and increase in the incidence of acid rains. So these are all the issues of 20th century. In the light of these issues, the United Nations has initiated the environmental conferences, beginning with the Stockholm Conference in 1971. So all the environmental issues are to be checked out, and to develop each country with its clean environment. The governments also thought of bringing environment policies, policy for a good environment, and drafting for environmental policies has become a major source of inspiration to develop environment and to minimize the lapses of climate change and other things. So this is also about the environment. So friends, public policy is the policy that provides a document, that provides a roadmap for the development of the people in a desired direction. That is called as public policy. In other words, it's also called as the positive intervention of state. The positive intervention of state in a particular direction is called as the public policies. Public policies throughout the world have brought so much of socio-political change and economic change among the lives of the people. That's why public policies and study and the need for public policies has become the order of the day. The paper on public policies has five important blocks. The first block is an introduction to public policy. The second block is on theories of public policy. And the third block is on models of public policy. And the fourth one is on the determinants of policy making, public policy making, in which we have the rule of the role of legislature, executive, and judiciary in public policy making. And it also provides the role of multimedia or media, mass media, in the public policy making. And in the last block, the policy intervention in India, and it lays down, it has identified some six types of policies as case studies: agriculture policy, industrial policy, reservation policy, education policy, and environment policy. These are the types of policies that are by in public policy. In the next class, we'll be discussing about the first block, public policy, meaning, nature, and scope, emergence of public policy as an academic discipline. Thank you, friends. Thank you very much. Thank you for sparing the time.